It was a collision of two worlds. Kinikilig ako.
Was it love at first sight?
No, I mean, I was...
Grabe naman yung pagkakano.
No, hindi naman. Hindi.
You know, I felt like the Lord told me that I'm gonna get married this year.
Wow.
Well, we haven't seen each other yet.
I had a long prayer list of everything that I wanted in
Yeah.
a guy, especially. He has to be, of course, tall, dark, and handsome. Filipino or half Filipino. I want him to be like a pastor or a worship leader. And Lord, sana virgin. I feel like God orchestrated. He was like, oh, I heard this prayer. I heard this prayer. Okay, let me work things out.
Right. Hi guys, welcome to So Jannelle. I'm your host Jannelle, so bringing you stories of immigration and representation, and I'm so happy to be bringing you this conversation this afternoon on the show. This is one of the conversations, one of the interviews that I have been working so hard on getting. I first invited her on the show, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? And it was not the right timing then, and now we know that it is the right time because God has a purpose. Donita Rose is joining us on the show, along with her husband, Felson Palad. Hello to both of you.
Hi. We've been hearing a lot about this Jannelle So. She lives up to all the expectations.
Oh,
Yes.
But it's funny though. So we did this project called Karimat Hasmin.
Yes.
And then you showed up.
Yes.
And I didn't know who you were, but
Right.
like you didn't say hi or nothing. So like, and then he goes, oh, did you see Jannelle? I was like, Jannelle who? Jannelle So. She was here? Like she didn't say hi? Oh my gosh, you may think I'm a snob.
No. You were
She
actually
was so
very
worried.
friendly. You smiled, you said hi. I was just, because I brought my daughter.
Yeah.
And she could join. So I've been hearing, oh, Donita's here. Of course, she is a very recognizable face, not just in the Philippines, but in all over Asia. A sought-after endorser, model, host, VJ, everything.
Singer,
She's a perfect singer
na
also.
ngayon, yeah.
Singer na rin siya ngayon.
Trainer
Because
ko.
And so, people were following you, your love life, and all that. And so, including myself, I would see you on TV. Oh, and then she got married. And then all of a sudden, I heard about Felson and Donita. And then all of a sudden, they're married. And I'm like, wow, I would love to hear their story.
It was a collision of two worlds.
Do
Kinikilig ako.
you
Sino
remember
muna?
do you remember when you first met?
Yes.
Okay.
So that was January 2022 that there's no work because I sing in retirement home.
Okay, yeah.
So it was all like lockdown.
Okay.
My American mom, her name is Kathy, asked me if I have work that time. I said, apparently no, there's no opening because it's lockdown. And then she would always ask me, what does the Lord tell you? That time I was reading my Bible in the book of Ruth, and I said, I felt like the Lord told me that I'm gonna get married this year.
Wow.
She said, let's pray and fast for her. She said, I'm gonna fast for her. Well, we haven't seen each other yet.
Right.
And then after a month, Louis Reyes, a very known Filipino singer, my vocal coach, she said, are you open these dates? I said, apparently yes, because I don't have work.
Right.
Can you volunteer to drive this missionary from the Philippines? Na magmi-meet kila Ruby Rodriguez, Pinky De Leon, and I didn't know that she's gonna meet Donita Rose. After that was February 22, and then I met her sa BCD.
Oh,
Yung tofu house.
Yeah.
Korean barbecue.
Yes.
Tapos dumating siyang late.
Yes. Was it love at first sight? What was your
No,
answer?
I mean, I was...
Grabe naman yung pagkakano.
Emphatic.
No,
Okay, all
because,
right.
well, you know the reason why I'm saying that is because parang medyo conservative ako when it comes to love, and I was a divorced woman, and it's like shut off, like not really looking.
Right.
I don't look at guys. It's kind of like after everything that I've been through in life, unless God serves him to me on a silver platter, I'm like, no, I don't want this anymore.
Yes.
So that's why. But you were handsome, man.
But you knew of her.
Of
Before,
course.
yes, of course. Who doesn't, right?
Sabi ko
Okay,
nga
and
sa
then,
kanya, because yung age gap namin, 10 years.
oh, okay.
So when she was doing MTV,
Okay.
when she was doing MTV, I was in high school.
Okay.
Pero galing ako sa mahirap. So kami, naalala ko, sinabi ko sa kanya, for me to watch her MTV, nagnanakaw kami ng signal sa mga kapitbahay.
Right.
So kami mga magkaka-classmate, tatakbo kami sa bahay. And then yung isa sa amin aakyat sa bubong. Tapos maghahanap ng signal.
Wow.
Para
Okay.
mapanood
To
siya.
watch her. Okay. So, long-time fan na pala. So, from that first meeting, how long after did it develop? Was it instant?
No.
No.
So he gave me his CD and his card, and he said, you know, if you ever need like a jingle for your company, I can do it for you. I'll do it for free. you
Oh,
know.
really?
It just so happens that we were working on a project
Okay.
that needed a jingle. So I said, are you serious?
All right.
Because I'm really looking for somebody now.
Yeah.
And he said, no, I'm serious. And I said, you said free?
Yeah,
So, parang hindi ako nahiya. So I brought it up with the team. For like 3 weeks, we started working together. And he would call me about work.
Okay.
And somehow our conversations just became longer and longer.
For you, when did you realize that it was more than work, more
you know
than
what's
friendship?
funny was Feb 12, 2022. I was doing my devotions, and that time I was like worshiping, and like I was even on my knees and I was crying, and I was like, wow, this is parang I got married and then like hiwalay. So I went through depression. And so when I was doing my devotions, I was like, wow, parang bumalik na ako, parang nahil na ako. Kasi I was crying tears of
You
joy.
felt healed.
I felt
Okay,
healed.
right.
Tears of
Because
joy.
you felt joy
The
inside.
tears were not about sorrow anymore.
Yes.
Tapos, I was about to get up. Then I said, and Lord, total I'm on my knees na sayang naman.
Right.
Ganun pa ako. Hingi na ako ng husband. And then 3 weeks later was when we met. That was the first time that we met.
When you were late.
Yes. So we
I
met.
love that. Kasi sa'yo, 3 weeks before, and sa'yo, was it a week?
A month.
A month before
Yeah.
when you said, wow, that is, this is
So it's kind
fascinating.
of like I feel like God orchestrated. He was like, oh, I heard this prayer. I heard this prayer. Okay, let me work things out.
Right.
Well, in my heart, I was like, I think I should meet my wife in a godly way, like in godly places. So I think that's why through a missionary ko siya na-meet.
Got it.
And well, just a side note, I had a long prayer list of everything that I wanted in
Yeah.
a guy. Especially, he has to be, of course, tall, dark, and handsome. Filipino or half Filipino. I want him to be like a pastor or a worship leader. I want him to tell me to retire, that I can retire na, so that I don't have the financial burden or responsibility for anybody else anymore. Because
right.
I've always been the
Working.
breadwinner.
Yes.
And I said, he's got to be super funny, no kids. I don't
Right.
want like to.
Yeah.
That was just my thing. I
Yeah.
don't want to have a guy who's had a previous marriage with
Right.
kids.
Yeah.
But I want him to be super close to his family.
Ang haba ng checklist!
And Lord, sana virgin.
Wow. So check in all?
Check all boxes.
Wow,
So
that
the
is-
reason
Pero
why-
sabi ko sa kanya, I'm a virgin but not innocent at all.
Okay,
you know.
okay, all right, okay.
Well, the reason why I was asking for a virgin husband was because when I made my decision to move to Singapore before for MTV, I said, God, I don't want this job. It was my dream job. I said, God, I don't want this job if it's not from you. Show me. And I said, give me a sign that this is from you. Make sure, I want to, at least there should be, the church that I go to in the Philippines, which I've been a part of for a long time, I want them to have a branch in Singapore.
Right.
And then I want a spiritual mentor who is the epitome of a Christian, like somebody who, you know, virgin, successful, beautiful, but loves God with all her heart. And she was the first person who picked me up at the airport.
Wow.
And she became my mentor.
Oh,
And she's a very important person in Singapore.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
in the Ministry of Parliament. She's a government official
Oh,
now.
wow.
So,
Okay, right. See, everything, all the checklists. But there was a time, you see her laughing now, but there was a time when you mentioned that heart was broken, life was devastated, and there was a lot of heartache. We're gonna be talking about that because I want people to draw inspiration from your guys' story, especially from you, Dee, from your story, because it's a story of redemption, right? When you think that all is lost, God gave you hope, and here it is, better than what you thought you had before. That's when we return on the show. Don't go away. Thank you for sharing your time with us here on So Jannelle. Happy Sunday if you're watching on TFC. Happy Saturday if you're watching on ANC. And happy Monday if you're watching on KXLA Channel 44. We are also available on demand on I Want TFC, and we are always on our social media platforms on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. It's So Together today on So Jannelle. It's been a while since we had this segment on the show. I think that it's good to highlight couples that love together, pray together, stay together, and do things together, right? If you're just joining us earlier, we had the very kilig introduction of the love story of Donita Rose and Felson Palad. And now we're gonna backtrack a little bit because I want you to get a perspective that life is an up and down, right? Even if you're a believer, even when you pray, you are not immune to challenges and heartaches. And that's what you had. Okay, tell us about that first marriage. This is your second marriage with Felson. Felson, this is your first and last, both of you. Both of you, you're last. But Donita, you were married before. You did mention earlier that you were divorced and that's why you weren't really looking. You had offered your life to God and to your son. Tell us about that story.
Well, you know, so my grandfather was a pastor. He's from Oklahoma. And so my dad raised me to read my Bible every day growing up. So I'm very conservative when it comes to my faith. And, you know, of course, in my teen years, you know, you kind of rebel and you go like, wait, I want to enjoy my life first.
Right.
But the complete turnaround for my life happened when I was 22. Something happened that really brought me to my knees and made me realize that I had a choice to make. It was, you know, it's either God is Lord of all or not at all. And so I completely surrendered my life to Christ at 22, and I've never looked back since. Actually, when I entered show business at 16, I actually got caught smoking marijuana for the first time.
Wow!
And then my parents, to scare me, brought me to the ER.
Yeah.
Like parang basement.
Yes.
And so I repented. I was like, God, forgive me. What is your plan and your purpose for my life? And then 3 days later, I got discovered in show business.
Okay.
In Manila. Like randomly. Like we had no showbiz background whatsoever. We just got discovered in the audience. So fast forward, you know, I completely surrendered my life to Christ. And I said, God, I'm going to use my work, this platform for your glory.
To give glory,
and so I've always been very vocal about my faith ever since then. And then eventually I met my first husband, who is the best friend of my brother since we were kids.
Okay.
So I've known him since we were kids, but like we reconnected, and then so I married, and it was broadcast. It was like the whole thing was a special shown on television for a few hours.
But obviously, right, the guy who caught the heart of this woman that's sought after, right? A crush ng bayan, right? And everyone was like, who is this man? Lucky man, right? And then there was bliss in the first few years of marriage? Or?
Naman,
yes.
Naman. But not, it was, I think a lot of it has to do with immaturity as well.
How old were you when you got married?
I got married at 29.
Okay, all right. That's not too young, right? That's not too young. Okay.
However, I think in comparison, like
right now,
first and second, like I've learned a lot from that first one. So it was a very public, you know, publicly open relationship. And when it ended, I was devastated, not just because it was a public spectacle as well, but because I felt like, had I not fulfilled God's purpose in my life? Did I ruin God's name through my reputation or whatever, you know, like, so I had to deal with, I had blamed myself for a very long time because the relationship, it was a long-winded relationship before we really ended it. So by the end of my marriage, my first marriage, I was exhausted.
How long were you guys married for?
12 years.
Okay, so it's more than 10 years, but in the 12 years, it was very tumultuous. There was cheating. How many times?
Oh, I don't really want to say details because like I don't want to. When of course in the beginning I thought, okay, I'm going to use this testimony to be able to share with women who've been through my situation. I had good intentions, and then it kind of backfired on me because of course my son is involved, and so the ex is not very happy about every single interview I've ever had in the past. So
sorry, ex, but
why? It was not intentional, but it happened. And
right. You know why? Because also there are couples that make it back together, right? And that is a different story of God's redemption, God's restoration, right? But there are stories just like yours of God moving you in a different direction. And I want that to kind of be something that people can draw from, because especially in this day and age, marriage is under attack. 1 in 2 marriages end in divorce. And that's why I wanted to ask you that, because then there's also this question of forgiveness. You can forgive and you can stay, or you can forgive and move on. Or how do you know if you want to stay, or how do you know if you want to move on?
It's not specifically said in the Bible, but it teaches that you can forgive, but you do not have to reconnect.
Yes.
There are situations in life that you don't have to reconnect with the person so that you can also move forward.
Right. We're going to be talking about that because Dee and Felson are now actually ministering couples as well. They're perfect for our segment, So Together, because they're also helping couples stay together, go through their difficulties, their differences, and maybe bring God into those relationships. More when we return on the show. Don't go away.